Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Welcome to another episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week, my guest is Jamie Kaiser. I usually let the guest introduce themselves, but I'm going to screw with Jamie because to make sure he's not prepared for this.
I'm totally not prepared for this.
But Jamie, for those who don't know, he is that cottage in my old logo. That's actually a cottage. It's not one of my rental properties. It's Kaiser's cottage pre-reno. When it was before mostly you, but before it all got fixed up. Jamie does all my logo work. He did this. He does the logos on my truck. He did my business cards, the professional photo of me sitting on the chair. This is the man behind the man.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, it's a good intro.
Yeah. You know what? You can tell us about yourself as well. I know you do a whole bunch of other professional things.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I work in advertising, so that's the reason why this is natural for me doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like yourself, because I work in advertising, we don't have like a normal traditional pension. We just have something we pay into. And so I figured we're going to have to do something to kind of like diversify my investments in the future in order to recover or in order to actually have a retirement plan.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't add was Jamie is one of my best friends. So it's one of the close circle connections because
the inner bubble.
Yeah. When we're all retired and living on an island, I need someone to go with me.
Or possibly Florida.
Or Florida, yes.
In Boca Raton.
Yes, we were very close there.
We almost purchased a place in Boca Raton, but it's just
which is Jamie's dream.
Yeah, it's the dream. And we have golf carts and we'd be driving around. It was actually on a golf course, which was amazing. But the golf fees themselves were like ridiculously high, so it wouldn't really work.
Yeah, because I'd use it for one round a year, and I'd be paying, I don't even remember what the prices were, like several $1,000s.
I think it was $7,000, not several,
yeah.
$7,000.
Yeah, it's $7,000 for a round of golf it would end up costing me, so it seemed a little ridiculous. So we didn't go there. Anyway, we're way off track already. But yeah.
Tangents.
So we're going to talk about a property that we bought, renovated, fixed some huge problems, a lot of things that would usually terrify most people. I'll let Jamie, if you want to, I'll let you start with the story, and then I will cut you off throughout it.
Yeah, please, because I'm going to probably go on a tangent. So this was my first property.
Yeah.
So since I am one of your drinking buddies and we hang out a lot, I have heard many, many, many stories of all your investments and various ups and downs. And I think while we were in the hot tub, or one of our many hot tub drinking sessions, but we both have hot tubs, by the way. That was another thing. We like to drink in each other's hot tubs.
Yeah. House party.
Yeah, house party. Yeah, or house party on the hot tub. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm already off topic.
Anyway, so what we were doing, we were buying a property. I found a foreclosure. This property actually went out to my email list. Like, everyone had the opportunity to get this. Well, as people hear the story, they're going to first think it's a terrible idea, and by the end, they're going to realize it was an amazing sort of story. But we found this foreclosure. I went back and forth with the bank, negotiating the price. They'd already sold it, I think, 3 times before us for in the 80,000s, but no one could close. It was one of those properties, all cash, buying from Wells Fargo. And the problem was, well, Jamie, what was the problem we had?
Oh, my God. So the biggest problem was that the property line was wrong on the property. So our garage that in the property was half on the neighbor's property. And so that would scare a lot of people to death. Oddly enough, though, I was experienced with this. Our cottage, what Glenn mentioned earlier, had the same problem, that our septic tank was on the neighbor's property. So I've already gone through this, and Glenn's experienced enough that it didn't scare him, that we went forward with this.
Yeah.
Now, it presented a whole bunch of other problems, though, because once we went down the road, and I'm sure, Glenn, you can stop me anytime you want.
Yeah.
When we went down the road, we had to buy this, or either buy the land that the garage was on, or we had to tear down the garage. And it was a shame to tear down the 2-car garage. It's a massive garage.
Yeah.
It was a shame to tear it down. So we went down the path that we tried to buy it. So
we also had that third option that you kept pitching that we would try, like, you know, those shows where they lift it up and move it. But it was
massive, though.
Yeah, oh, it was massive. 2 cars deep, 2 cars wide, 2 stories. Like, it's a house.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was missing garage doors, though. That was another thing that scared people away, is that not only was it like on the neighbor's property, but also the doors were gone. And so it looked kind of run down. I mean, the bones were good. Everything's good. So far, it's doing great.
Yep. Well, it was also new. Like, that was the garage addition was done like 5 years ago, and they just never finished it. The siding only had siding on half of it, halfway up. It didn't have garage doors. The electrical was run to it, but hanging from the walls. Like
It had a lot of problems.
Yeah, it wasn't finished. Someone ran out of money.
It was very scary.
Yeah.
So as we went to buy this piece of land, we couldn't get a hold of the neighbors, and so we tried and tried and tried, and so eventually we got a hold of the wife.
Yeah.
Got a hold of the wife, and she said, "I'm fine with this, but you have to find my husband." And we said, "Okay, where's your husband?" He was in jail. So we had to then hire a private investigator. Was this?
No. So at this point, we were like, okay, we got our attorney involved. Let's draw some documents. Let's make some contact. Let's see. No, actually, no documents yet. Let's just make some contact and see if they're interested, right, to do this. And the wife was interested. And then when we went to the jail to see, we hired somebody to go to the jail. When they got to the jail, they let the guy go.
He was on bail.
Yes.
He was on bail, and this is where it gets even better. So they said, so we know he's on bail, but I'm pretty sure he actually skipped bail then, and he was on the run for a while.
Yeah.
So we had a felon, like, hiding from the police that we were trying to contact to buy property from.
Yes. But we've already now closed on this property.
Yes.
We own this property. Oh, we didn't even talk about the foreclosure process.
Let's get through this part. This part's too good. This is the best part.
Yes.
So after
you go.
Yeah. So he's on the run from the police. We're trying to find him, as well as the police is trying to find him. And we managed. No, we could never find him until finally the police caught him. Then we could negotiate with him. And I think at that point you said offer him whatever deal and a pack of smokes.
Yeah. Well, when in Rome.
Sweeten the deal with a pack of smokes. He's already in prison again.
But to terrify people more, we've bought this property. We have now pretty much done. Are we done the renovation at this point?
Yeah, the renovations were done. And
we've been chasing this guy around the world because our intention was to flip the property, was what we were originally thinking. Yes. I'm going to go on the way back to the tangent. We'll get some backstory now, and then we'll continue forward. So we got the property for $50,000. We made an offer for $58,000. They accepted it. When we closed, they got screwed up, and we closed at $50,000. So we got a sweet deal on the property. We're now completely finished renovation at this point when we're trying to track this neighbor down to try and buy 200 feet by 20 feet off of him, just because it's that big a lot. And but now we're like, what do we do? It's been fully renovated and it's sitting there. And we've been just sitting there with a renovated property for months. And we're like, we can't sell it because no one can get a mortgage on it.
Nope.
And I'm like, Jamie, what do you think about renting it? We could rent this out. Why not, right?
Which actually I really like the idea, because like the dream now for me is to own like 10 to 20 homes, like a perfect burr, and just to income every month. And so, like I was game for that. The only problem I had with it was that we had a brand new house, in essence, that's been completely refurbished, and now we're going to rent it to someone who may trash it.
Yes.
But knock on wood, they haven't. They've been great tenants.
Yeah, so we talked to Julie, who's on one of the other shows from Rocket City Property Management. She's like, we can rent this, but it's going to take a long time because it's out in the country. There's very few people that want to rent a property. I don't know, how many, 2 acres? What is it, 2 acres?
It's close to 2 acres, yeah.
Yeah. So there's very few tenants that want to rent that, but people who do want that, once they find it, they'll stay forever. So anyway, we decide to start renting it. It takes us about a little over 30 days to find a tenant. And
about a month. Yeah, it was about a month.
yeah, get the tenant in. As soon as we get the tenant in, the guy ends up in jail again.
They got him. They got him.
So we offer the wife $1,000 to buy that part of the land, and we offer the guy $1,000. So $2,000 in total to buy the land. She goes for it. He doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to go back, and we're like, well, what does he want? He wants $2,000.
He's playing hardball.
Yeah. So we're like, fine. And then the wife wants $2,000. So $4,000 to solve our problem. It ended up costing $6,000 in total for surveys, attorney, the dude to go track this guy down.
Private attorney.
The private attorney.
Smokes.
Yeah. The visits to the jail, the attorney going to the jail to actually get the paperwork signed as well. But anyway, we got the whole thing done. We got it rented. So we were renting it for $9.95, and we've rented it now for about a year, right?
About a year, yeah.
Yeah, right about a year now. And so we had it at it was going pretty good. Like we'd solved the problems of that property, and now we were just really actually enjoying the huge cash flow because we were owning the property in cash. There was no mortgage on this. And so COVID happened. We were starting, we got a bunch of loans in February, and they all got voided in March.
Oh my God.
And so, you know what? It actually worked out to our favor, but at the time it was another disaster to add to this story.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, I mean, like you said, like we buy problems and we fix them.
Yep.
And it's just been problem after problem. I mean, if this was me on my own, I would have been sunk by now. Luckily, I mean, I've got you to be guiding me through this, but wow, like it's definitely trial by fire. Like so many problems that have come up.
Yeah.
And now the easy parts, like I thought, securing a mortgage on this would have been, a relatively straightforward process. Like I've done a couple mortgages. I only have a couple mortgages. Yep. And like the amount of hoops we've gone through and crazy things we've gone through just for the mortgage.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of approvals, and then stuff would fall apart, and people would offer us really good terms, and then they would fall apart. But this is COVID lending, right? It's still, we're in, what month is it now? September. And it's still it's post-COVID in the States, but they still haven't got all their programs open the way they did. But we went and got a lender, and the terms they had were reasonable that I thought that they'd be able to produce and actually complete the loan, which is good. So we went with them. We got the appraisal done. Our original numbers for the property was we were buying this property for $50,000, putting $25,000 into it, and then we were hoping for an ARV of $120,000. What did we get our appraisal for, Jamie?
I can't remember. You put me on the spot. I don't have the numbers in front of me. You sent me the numbers again, and I'm like, oh, great. And then I didn't bring them up.
So we got an appraisal for $160,000, which sounds like a complete home run. The problem is,
I was so happy when that happened. I remember I was having like a kind of like a COVID type day, and I'm like, that's not great. You called me up, and I'm like, holy, like, what happened? This is the best day ever. I was going to buy a boat. We were champagne bottles were going to pop.
Oh yeah, the appraiser told us if we changed it to granite countertops, some fancy fixtures, some new vanities instead of fixing up what we had, that we could get a 192 based on the comps in the neighborhood.
The neighborhood appreciated in value while we were renovating and while we were trying to track this guy down. It was like avoiding the law.
Yeah. The problem is when you get a really high appraisal and then you try and put a mortgage based on a really high appraisal instead of the 120 we were hoping for, now our mortgage is much more expensive than we'd planned for. And we're like, okay, now does this even make sense to do? Because the property's only going to cash flow, I think it was like $250 a month. And we're like, it's not terrible, but is that going to change our life? It probably makes more sense to sell it for $160,000.
Yeah.
And we're also coming up to lease renewal in September. And the state of Alabama, you can change the rent amount, whatever you want on renewals. You can't do it midterm like you can in Missouri. You have to do it on renewals. So I'm like, I want to make this. I'm like, let's get a win-win deal. And so for us, not for the tenant.
No.
So I said, okay, called the property manager. Do you think we could raise this $100 a month? And she says, you could raise it $200 a month because the area is so hot right now.
Also, there was a backstory. Like we had it listed higher before, but without the garage being completed, a bunch of other problems, we lowered the cost. We weren't just being, profiteering.
Yes, that's true. We did have it originally listed a year ago for $1,100, and then we moved it down to $995 to get somebody in there. But now we pushed it back. We're like, okay, the new rent in October will be $1,200. And which is a hard, if anyone's doing the math in their head, that's a 20% raise. So we're going from $995 to $1,200. So there's two things that are going to happen. The tenant's either going to leave, then we can sell the property for $160 or higher, right? We'll probably do some extra renovation and go higher.
Yeah, the granite countertops. And
yeah.
Like that.
Oh yeah. And so we could do that, and they leave, or they stay, and we make it into something that's cash flowing, like $450 a month, which is more sexy. That's a sexier number.
Very sexy.
So the tenant took the $1,200 raise. So then, now that we know we have a tenant that's going to stay and pay high rent, this is the time that now I feel comfortable to secure the mortgage on the property. So we go through the hoops and hurdles. This lender is, we won't name names, but they've been very difficult. They've been making us wanting to certify our ID at the U.S. consulate. They've been asking us to certify every signature. They want over-the-moon craziness of different.
While at the same time slipping in different numbers every time. So once we agree on something, like not forming on paper, when they actually send it over, it's a little higher, always in their favor.
Yeah, and it was like typos almost. Like it was like first we were like, what's the interest rate? Oh, it's 6.38. And then we get our paperwork, it's 6.83. We're like, well, fix that. And yeah, it was one thing after another. And then the origination fee, it was 3%, and it was 2.25%. And it was like we couldn't get straight numbers from them. But anyway, we've been juggling with this lender for like a month to try and figure it out. And by the end of it, they finally changed their tune on everything, because we were originally looking at a 60% loan to value. We were going to go down to a lower loan to value, which sounds crazy to most people, but we could get a much better interest rate by going to a low loan to value.
And long term, that's much better for us. Yeah.
So anyway, they finally, actually I was going to hold it up and people would have saw the lending name. But anyway, I have a new refinance paperwork from them. They've changed everything on the newest revision. They've moved us up to 70% loan to value, 6.33%. We're still fighting over the origination fee, which I don't think we're going to win. But yeah, we got everything in. We finally got what we're looking for, except for the origination fee. So
70 loan to value is pretty good.
Oh, it's very good. I have several mortgages.
To the moon.
Oh, we won't get that. No. I have several mortgages in the United States, and I've never got higher than 65. I have a whole pile of them at 65, and I've never got higher. So this works out really well. So people go, okay, so now we're going to do a refinance, right? On this property, based on these numbers with 70% loan to value, we're going to get handed $30,000, at least 30 to 37, depending on fees, tax-free from this. And people go, oh, you only made $30,000? No.
Plus the house.
Yeah. So we also, like, you think about it, what we did, we put 75 in, and we've created a lot of equity, right? So now the place is worth at least 160, and we also can pull out money tax-free, so we can go do another project, which we did.
We already have. We jumped the gun.
Yeah.
So luckily, Glenn and I are both lucky enough that I pulled out from my home equity line of credit.
Yeah.
Because I own a place in Toronto, and I was lucky enough to be able to use that money, like the appreciated value in Toronto, to fund this. So now we did the same thing for the second one.
Yep. Yep.
Which, are we going to get into that today, or is that another podcast?
No,
I feel like that deserves its own.
No, it deserves its own. We have we have interesting things, not bad stuff like this one. So we'll come back in like another month and do one, because I'm actually not going to air this episode probably for a week or two. So by the time this airs, we'll actually have the other project probably listed on the MLS. So yeah,
wow.
So
we'll probably find any other interesting things.
Yeah, but they're moving along now. We've got like everything's done. So anyway, we could probably schedule another one and do it in another few weeks after that. But that's basically our story. I don't know if this is the most conversation of a podcast rather than an interview that I've ever done.
I have really nothing to offer except my experiences here as a first time investor.
Yeah.
But wow, what a ride! I mean,
yeah.
I could only imagine if I was doing this on my own, I would lose my shit on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So many things went like bizarrely awry, and just like fighting for a mortgage just seems ridiculous. But here we are.
Yeah. And like, if you're thinking about this, right, like from if someone else is looking at this and going, oh, wow, that was an amazing thing. Like, how many of these would you need to do a year to really change your life? I'm not asking you the question, but like out to everybody, like, you know, we technically took 75 and turned it into 160, and ours, because of COVID, ended up being a 1 year project. But
still, 1 year is pretty good.
Yeah. So, but we doubled our money in a year, more than doubled our money. And where else can you do that in real estate? It'd be hard. Maybe some of your weed stocks when we were buying, when that first took off at the start.
Well, I mean, I've got like a 3-pronged approach for like my retirement now. And like one of them is like paying into my traditional like pension plan, which I mean, you're never going to get rich doing that. Second was that I've got a fair amount of investments in like weed stocks and various other stocks now. And my third is real estate. And yeah, I did well. That's actually what got me originally excited, is that weed stocks did very well. And then I was going to take all that money out, and I've never quite figured out how to do that because it's all locked into an RSP. Did we ever do a podcast on that?
No. Well,
it seems
you're going to pay fees to pull it out of an RSP.
Yeah. It seems really hard, but I was going to lend the money out.
Yeah. And
then use that money for properties. But I decided it's better to actually diversify a little bit and then have like 3 different places. Also, I wasn't quite as nervous. I don't have all my eggs in one basket worrying about the guy that's running away from the cops. Yeah. I knew that, I have 2 other places to fall back on, so I could be a little more aggressive with our investments, which we have been.
Yes. But in the same time, if this didn't go the same way, right? Let's look at more of like worst case scenario. The neighbor wouldn't sell us the land, say, right? We could have tore that garage down, but I don't think with that huge garage, which is as big as the house, like tearing that down, I think we would have lost out on some of the value.
But I think we still would have been ahead. We would have been in the pluses.
Oh, we still would have been in the pluses, but I don't think it would have appraised for 160.
No.
I think, I think that garage, because it's new, and especially now that we've done new siding, new electrical, new doors, it's a sexy building, right? With a second party floor on it, like it's a sexy building.
I would be a little scared knowing that there's like a convict on the run that may potentially stop by once in a while for sugar, but I mean.
Well, he seemed to not want to have anything to do with his wife, which was next door. So maybe
they also could be great people for all we know.
Yeah,
like they definitely play. They once we got a hold of them, very agreeable.
Yeah, they made us a deal, and we were happy. We budgeted $10,000 and we spent about $6,000 to fix that issue. So it was good.
Some things that threw me for a loop though. One is like transferring money. That one blew me away as like a first time investor, taking my Canadian money in my Canadian bank and trying to transfer it like via wire or anything else was a nightmare. First off, they always take a little bit off. Like when you send something, you send $10,000, it shows up 9,900 and something.
Yeah. $10 just magically disappears.
It just disappears. I mean, and there's some kind of fee that's tacked on somewhere that you don't see. So in fact, that happened with the current property too. So I transferred what I thought was the right amount, deducting the wire transfer fee and everything else, and still it was a little bit short.
Yeah. like
And
$5 or $10. Yeah.
somewhere just like a couple bucks disappears. Also, I don't know if we mentioned before, but Knightsbridge has been amazing.
Yep.
Like they solved so many of my problems. It's like things like, oh well, I can't remember what it was, but we couldn't transfer money from one account. I think it was RBC that was giving us the runaround.
Yeah, we used to do everything at RBC. So we were banking Canada at RBC, and we had RBC Georgia in the States. And technically, we could just go from Canadian to U.S. account at RBC Canada, and then transfer to our RBC account in the States, which is pretty seamless, but riddled with fees for that first transfer. Yeah,
riddled with fees, and their exchange rate is terrible. So it's a double whammy. You're losing a lot of money by doing that. And also, I couldn't get the money from my Canadian account to whatever American account easily. There was some kind of like really big disconnect there, and it was going to take like a week or two.
Yeah, because RBC in the States isn't a real bank. They're a subsidiary of Chase, and so the money would flow to Chase and then over to RBC. And if they didn't put the intermediary bank in, they'll either send the money back or it'll just get lost in the ether for a week and then it'll show up in the right spot.
I think that was the stressful part. So you're trying to close something and you give yourself like lead time, and they take even more than you expect. So give yourself even more lead time. But then Knightsbridge turned around and wound up transferring the money. I can't remember how they did it, but pretty much I just talked to a guy and they figured out whatever that transfer issue was.
I'm sure they've done it before. They've done it before.
So it's just nice knowing somebody knows what they're doing much more than I am.
But we've switched now. We now bank at a local bank in Alabama, and the purpose is to build a connection with them, so that someday, credit, so that someday we could get mortgages with them. Ideally, right now they require a social security number, which neither of us have, but. Someday I might finish my E2 visa application, and we'll get that all done.
But
anyway,
currently, I got no complaints, and I feel a lot more secure knowing I've got like a good team working down there on stuff. And if something does go wrong, for instance, I know we were talking once, and it wasn't the hurricane that came through, but a tropical storm came through that area.
Yes.
And you accidentally, we were talking, and you said, "Oh, by the way, I think our roof's been ripped off." And I can't remember what I was doing, but I had to put down my coffee, and I'm like, "Okay, we got to deal with it. The roof has been ripped off of our place." But turns out it was just a couple shingles, and it was actually your other property. So I dodged that bullet. You didn't.
Yes. So our property, we had $550 worth of shingles that got ripped off the house. This is one thing people forget when they're starting investing in the southern states, that they get like hurricanes and tropical storms, and
they're not even like close. They're not even close to the ocean, but still, I mean, it's close enough that a tropical storm or a hurricane can definitely affect them.
Yeah. So we got off pretty easy, $550. Whereas my other rental property in North Huntsville, which is out, both of them, one's in South Huntsville. Well, this is in Lacey Springs, just south of Huntsville. And the other one is north of Huntsville, still in Huntsville zip. But it got $15,000 worth of damage done to it. All the shingles, all the roofing, just destroyed. And it was a huge roof, a bungalow, a 2,000 square foot bungalow. So it's so much roof. So it just destroyed it all. So, but that's what insurance is for. Yeah.
Oh, and insurance.
Jamie, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do so?
Go through you. I don't think anyone needs, aside from some weird stories, no one needs to get really a hold of me.
Yeah. It's not even like, if you're going to go and ask them for a reference about how it works with working with me, you just heard it. So
you heard it. This is how it goes. We have a conversation. Actually, during COVID, it's been like almost every other day we have a chat about something.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's because we're doing refis right now, so we're it's a lot of updates. The lenders keep changing things on us every day.
Refis, possible leads, also possible drinking times.
Yes, yeah. We just got to keep our distance because you're in Toronto. You guys have way more COVID than us out in Cambridge.
Oh yeah, we're just flaring up right now. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I have nothing really to offer aside from entertainment, so hopefully it was entertaining.
I think it was. All right, thanks so much, Jamie.
All right, see you later.